Hi friends, welcome to another episode of Inside the Circuit Roborace. Roborace is the place where we're making the fastest racing autonomous robots in the world, and we are giving them away to the most amazing people on this planet so they can code these robots and the robots become alive and race with each other. Today we are talking with two amazing guests from Seoul. The company is called Seoul Robotics. Welcome to the show, Martin and Hanbin. Hello, guys. Nice to see you. Nice to hear you, Hanbin and Martin. How are you guys?
Fine.
Pretty good.
Martin,
How are you?
Martin, I can tell by your T-shirt. Where are you from? You can tell.
Korea.
Korea, Nike. That's cool. Hanbin, also Seoul, because your name sounds like this is where you're coming from. So, can you guys introduce yourself very quickly?
Hanbin.
My name is Hanbi. I'm the captain of Robotics. We are trying to solve first and last mile autonomy through infrastructure, and I can talk about that later on. And we're based in Seoul, but we do have we do have base in Munich as well as in US.
Okay, we're gonna talk about the details later, like what I'm doing actually, what is Seoul Robotics, and why this is so cool. We are showing you inside the circuit of Roborace. And Martin, super tech OEM consultant with 120 years experience. How are you?
Fine, not 120 years, even though if I look similar. Yeah, right. I'm German engineer. I'm working for 30 years now in automotive industry, mainly BMW and Hyundai, and I'm living in Korea for 6 years now.
That's cool.
I'm happy to give advice to people which have good ideas to improve the transportation of the future.
Yeah, that's cool. Like, thank you guys for coming, and this is such a pleasure to have you in the show. And we are talking to you because this is so interesting to talk about Roborace with the Asian angle and the Korean angle, especially because Korea is such an interesting hub for the new technologies, for mobility, for autonomous cars, robots, autonomous robots, artificial intelligence, and things like that. We have, as far as in Roborace, amazing teams from North America, MIT, Carnegie Mellon. We have European teams, but none of them actually is from Asia. So this is just right now starting. I'm very happy to have you on the show because we are working with Seoul Robotics and Martin to build a team from Korea to join Roborace and to start competing with MIT and Carnegie Mellon and the others. That would be super, super cool. Just to introduce exactly what is the technology that you guys are doing in Seoul Robotics. Whenever we're talking about it, it reminds me of the Blade Runner 2, because your approach is so different. If you think about autonomous robots, it's you think about the sensors, lots of different things that you have on top of the vehicle, on top of the robot. You have lidars, cameras, and you have a computer platform. And then these machines become alive. This is how people imagine that. But as this guy from Blade Runner 2 who was blind actually, and instead of having artificial sensors, artificial eyes attached to his body, he had like a bunch of different sensors in the room, and he could see way better, like with probably many, many different layers and many different dimensions better than the regular artificial eyes or even like human eyes. So this is actually what you guys are doing. So just with this fancy approach, I wanted to show your architecture. So you guys are installing sensors, not on the cars, but on the buildings. So the city becomes the eyes for the robots that move through the city, right?
Eyes and the brain. So this is what we call the autonomy through infrastructure. So basically we are having the infrastructure to be equipped with intelligent sensors like LiDAR and imaging radar and 3D camera, and let the cities figure out where the vehicle needs to go. And then vehicle is simply receiving commands through 5G or 4G or V2X technology. So it is not like a traditional self-driving car, just as you have described, where all the computing sensors are on the vehicle, but it's outside.
This is a very interesting approach. So I mean, what's your story? Like, how did you start your business, and how did you start doing artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, AI systems for cars in Korea? Like, tell us about a bit about Korea and this tech companies that are there. Like, this is so interesting.
Yeah, so first of all, just to give a little background on Korea, we do have large OEM like Hyundai, and companies like Samsung and LG is also based here. And through those companies, I know we get a lot of great university that supports these companies to grow and to be global in the technology-wise, whether it be vehicles or cell phone or TVs, robotics, etc. And also Korea is most, I believe, most robotized country in the world, which means that they use robots a lot, and when it comes to manufacturing or different industrial use cases. So that's a little bit of background in Korea. For Soul Robotics, we've been working on mostly on 3D perception. We worked on in-vehicle perception, as well as we have few clients that wanted us to deploy an outside perception, outside in, and we thought, why don't we combine those two to create a singular autonomous system, which means that eventually it relies heavily on the infrastructure. So the vehicle still does some of the perception for us, but mostly it's done by the infrastructure. And that's how we became to be. We found the company in 2017, and now we are currently working with 6 different OEMs and 3 different tier 1s, as well as a lot of government institutions around the world. Because autonomy through infrastructure, you have to work closely with the government entities, as well as the OEMs, as well as the technology providers, the sensor providers, etc., etc. So,
yeah, that's interesting. Seems like Korea is a really great place to start a company like that. And Martin, because you have a Hyundai background, right?
Hyundai background, but also my German background. I mean, me as a German, I can say that Germany and Korea is always competing about the most innovative country in the world. And I think right now Korea is #1, but that might maybe change next year, or maybe then back again to Korea. So that's a battle between the two countries.
Yeah, so so the best scenario is either to be Korean and live in Germany, or to be German and live in Korea.
Yes.
To be in the middle of these technologies.
That's
yeah, it sounds awesome. And tell us about the university power, like the tech universities in Korea. I mean, both of you guys have cool relations with the universities out there, right? Like, you know, if we speak about artificial intelligence and universities in the US, everybody thinks Stanford, MIT. You know, like how does it sound for Korea? Like, what is the university that is the best?
Yeah, so we got a couple of universities in Korea. There's 4 major ones. The one is KAIST. I think the abbreviation stands for Korea Advanced Institution of Science and Technology. A bit long. We got Seoul National University, which is overall #1 university in Korea. So KAIST is like MIT. Seoul National University is like Harvard. They're both top 50 universities in the world. And we got the SKK University, which is basically owned by Samsung. So all the research project funding comes from Samsung. And then lastly, Hanyang University, which is funded basically by Hyundai. So again, it's a very close tie with the massive industrial players, providing the technology insights as well as funding to grow these companies to universities. For me personally, our company is basically half and half Seoul National University or KAIST, so we have a very close ties with them, as well as the professors. So yeah,
that's cool.
I mean, we would probably just have to ask them to challenge, for example, Daniel and the team from TU Graz or my alma mater, TU München, so to build up kind of a Team Korea.
Yeah. Seems like it's a strong representation over there. And you, Mark, you are also cooperating with the KAIST, right?
Yes, so in Hyundai we had some projects with KAIST and as well Seoul National University, and yeah, I can confirm they are both strong in terms of autonomous driving, and I think it will be worth to bring them to Roborace.
Okay, that would be cool. That would be cool to see.
Yeah, one last thing is that in Korea they host the self-driving competition within just Korea themselves, and these 4 universities always competing with each other, right? So
can you tell us about it a bit?
Yeah, it's this competition is usually hosted by the Hyundai actually and the Korean government. I think they're funding it half and half. But you know, it's usually one of those 4 universities win, and it's like, okay, we know we're pretty good in Korea, and that's about it. I think it's kind of boring, but this could be opportunities. So let's compete globally. Let's see how good we are out there actually against the best of the world, not just Korea.
Yeah. That's cool, actually. Let's talk a bit deeper about this German-Korean subject, because when you started to talk about it, Martin, it reminded me and the project that you guys have with BMW, and you guys, this is one of the reasons that Seoul Robotics has subsidiaries in Munich. Can you explain a bit what you're doing with the BMW?
Yeah, so we are helping BMW vehicles to be autonomous within the parking lots that is owned by BMW. So there's a lot of logistics happening from the moment the vehicle is produced until it gets delivered to the customer. So whenever it reaches different parking lots, people have to manually drive them. So instead of people manually driving them, why don't we let the parking lot automate this vehicle themselves? So the market is significantly large. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. With BMW, we're helping that exactly. Autonomy through infrastructure. Whatever the vehicle that enters into within our ground, our automated ground, becomes autonomous, and it enables the vehicles to move within through the logistics in the lower cost and the more efficient manner. And it is not a POC stage. It is being actively deployed into multiple sites around the world, starting from Munich. So it's a very exciting project.
So here's where your technology has actually takes the lead, because if I'm thinking about how to autonomize a fleet of vehicles, let's say 100,000 vehicles, you need to convert these vehicles into autonomous, which is install all the sensors, all the computing platform, like everything that, so you guys, thanks to your approach, instead of installing sensors to all the BMW vehicles that you have in Munich, you just autonomize the parking space and the area, and the vehicles just communicate with the system, right?
Right. So that's the thing. I mean, if you look at it, the system is actually a whole lot cheaper than its traditional self-driving car vehicles, because now you don't have to put. First of all, you don't have to create expensive software that goes into the vehicle, because building software is expensive. Second of all, these sensors. Let's say 10,000 vehicles go through this parking lot each day. You don't need to have 10,000 sensors.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can literally automate millions of vehicles with just 5 or 10 sensors, and thankfully,
and it's easier and it's easier to upgrade the sensors. If you have new version of the LiDAR or some sensors which are like these elements are getting obsolete very quickly. Like there's new versions coming out, like different economies of scale. So instead of having like entire 100,000 vehicles with the old sensors, you can just change the sensors on the buildings, and the system is just upgraded very quickly. That's actually amazing.
Because usually when you're trying to put a sensor into a vehicle that's a 3 or 4 or 5 year cycle, Martin probably knows a lot better than I do, so I should probably not speak about this. But at this, as you said, for this, if you want to change the sensor, if there's a better and cheaper sensor, we just go out and replace it. It's usually installed on the lighting post or on the building, right? It's not that hard.
That's very cool approach. So Martin, maybe you can explain, because okay, sensors, we install them on the building, so the city becomes, like a parking becomes smart, or an area becomes smart and autonomous, and the cars are becoming just kind of like bots that are managed by the central system. Like you need to have these cars steering by wire, braking by wire. Is BMW capable to do that already? Like, how does it work?
I mean, I'm not that close to BMW anymore, but maybe I have another example from a project in Switzerland, where they focus on urban traffic compaction with coordinated autonomous driving. And I think this is really a super interesting part, and which has to be addressed. It closes the gap between those ego-centered autonomous vehicles and the metropolitan traffic policy. And this is something where I see the Seoul Robotics technology really great, helping from the infrastructure in kind of alliance with all the autonomous vehicles in the cities to prevent the chaos. So this is also something where this technology can help autonomous driving level 3 and 4 getting more mature driving in those urban areas, those ODDs, much faster than they could do just by themselves. I think this is a really interesting approach to accelerate all the autonomous driving in the world.
Okay, so Cell Robotics is taking part in this project in Switzerland?
And then?
That is a plan. We want
Yes.
to provide the advanced platform throughout the city, because you need a technology that can maintain hundreds and thousands of sensors into a singular node, basically, and make sure that is processed in real time and the information is transmitted again by 4G or 5G or V2X system in real time. And again, we've already worked with OEMs and the system is working. And I think it will be exciting to kind of deploy this in a city level. And that's why I said it needs a close collaboration with the government entity as well as the OEMs, because you just cannot do it by yourself. The government has to give us permit and planning and designing, and that Switzerland is actually the second most innovative country in the world after South Korea. So,
yeah, it seems like you guys are everywhere. That's really amazing. Yeah. You should change your name from Cell Robotics to like Global Robotics or something like that.
Yeah, like
or
that.
Planet Earth Robotics. That's cool. So let's also speak about a couple of your projects, because this is I mean our audience, they are very interested who is actually and the next big team that is joining Roborace. So we want to give them as much information as possible, not just like, oh, hi, this is the university, but they are actually engaged in very, very interesting, very deep commercial projects with big OEMs, big brands. This brings credibility. The other reason also is to like probably MIT and our other teams are watching this show, so you guys should be a bit of like you should feel the energy coming, because there's a very, very strong competitor coming, so there will be bigger passion and there will be bigger competition on the race very soon. I know that you are working also with Korean airport and some nuclear power plants, like a positive aspect of this nuclear world. Like, can you tell a bit more about that?
Yeah, so the Korean airport is, again, it's a very similar project with BMW, but they really want to automate parking lot as well as what they call airside vehicles. So all those vehicles that is nearby the airplane, fueling and refueling, etc., etc. They also carry a lot of cargoes, and sometimes they carry fuels. Using the outside in, the autonomous infrastructure approach, first of all, if they automate the parking lot, it gives a greater benefit to the users. And if they automate the airside, it brings them more efficiency to the airport operators. So we have a very close relationship with the Korean government as well as the largest Korean airport, which is Incheon. There's only like 2 or 3 airports in Korea. Yeah, so airports are currently one by one adapting our technology. Obviously, it'll take some time for us to fully deploy the system and kind of have a grand reveal to the world, but that's where it is. And the last in the nuclear power plant, taking all away the autonomy side, they took our perception side, which is extremely accurate, reliable, and real time. And they are designed the system to protect whoever is trying to come into the nuclear power plants, so that it's like it's a super powered security system that basically doesn't there's no false alarm, as well as it just understand all the objects nearby at the extreme accuracy.
Interesting, very interesting. So Martin, when are you going to take Hyundai into the journey? So let's convince Hyundai to join Roborace. Why not? This is such a great brand, and Roborace is actually forming the team from Korea. Like, guys from Hyundai, if you're watching, you should join.
Good that you mentioned that.
Let's do it. Let's discuss. Those are very, very interesting things. Yeah, I mean, one of the questions that always come to my mind when I talk to the companies that are specializing in coding lidars, like what do you think? What do you think, guys? Both of you, actually. Martin, from your perspective, an incredible experience. As I said, like, you have so many years of experience that I cannot even count. And Hanbin, like, what do you think? about the sensors, because the platform is changing so quickly. Like nobody can actually very precisely predict what kind of sensors will be the one in 5 years from now, let's say, or 10 years from now, or something like that. So what's the future here? Like where the company should focus?
And so if I were to start, obviously, the Tesla is the hottest topic in the autonomy world. They always say we don't even need radar, you don't need LiDAR, all you need is camera and you can do it all. And obviously there's other aspect of the industrial players who said that you need all the different type of sensors. Personally, this is my very personal view. I've been working very closely mostly with LiDAR for the last 3-4 years, is that all these sensors are converging to become a 3D sensors, not 3D sensors. What I mean by that is LiDAR was the predominant 3D sensors that gives you very accurate depth information where objects are. Now the radar resolution used to be bad. It used to give us very sparse point of where the things are. Now the technology is evolving with better antenna technology as well as more AI technology deploying into radar, that radar is now producing the very dense 3D image like LiDAR. And now with Tesla and I believe, was it Carnegie Mellon, they're deploying AI to cameras so that the cameras are now producing data like LiDAR. They call this technology pseudo LiDAR. So I believe this convergence of these different types of sensors into a 3D format. And what would be most important will be, who knows how to really deal with this 3D data, who can really effectively understand and process different type of 3D sensor data into a more meaningful information for self-driving cars. And I think that's my personal view.
No, I can confirm
what do you think,
that.
Martin?
That's a good outlook. I have the same impression that with the cost down and the increase of functionality and combination, that will show us in the next years really interesting sensors and combinations. So nobody really knows, and of course it depends also on the use case. I mean, if you do some autonomous driving on the highway, it's a different case than if you have a last mile delivery. So that has to be considered. In general, I would recommend just to keep the neutrality, just to keep sensor development on one side and go for the fusion and perception on the other side, and to keep that independent, because as has been said, we will see some interesting, really nice technology in the near future.
Oh, that's very cool. All right. When I was talking to you before the show, we were discussing this different approach that you have of coding the autonomous vehicles and autonomous robots. So what are actually, in your words, like in your opinion, what are the benefits? Why are you doing this approach like that instead of taking the traditional path of having the sensors attached to the vehicle? Like, I'm not even saying about the cost that we said before, like you have few LiDARs on the building instead of hundreds of thousands of LiDARs on the cars. But let's say from the software, purely software perspective, and the perception perspective, why is it better?
So inherently, we can take the Roborace. If you were to deploy the system for the Roborace, I could kind of explain where the benefit come from. So let's say for the Roborace around racetrack, we install a couple sensors, couple dozen sensors, so that we know exactly where all the vehicles are at the same time. And this approach kind of gives a vehicle an ability to see around corners, in fact, the entire racetrack. So let's say the vehicle is going on a very sharp corner, and apparently there was an accident, or there's something on the debris on the road, which the vehicle just did not see in enough time, and it collides into it. But what if the vehicle knows exactly where everything is on the entire map, the entire time, or just around the corner, exactly there's a broken tire.
Yes.
And the system is inherently far more, it becomes, it's just far more safer. Sorry about that, got a phone call. As well as just overall, even with the project that we're deploying, by the design, each vehicle has to be seen by at least 4 different sensors. So instead of a vehicle just seeing what they can see 10 feet, 50 feet away, the vehicle is constantly being seen by many sensors from around the infrastructure.
I mean, it's really an extension. It's I call it that kind of seventh sense, and you could also take advantage out of really not safety as Han-Bin mentioned, but also in terms of performance, because you can decide on your driving strategy depending on what happens in front of you, which you cannot see, but maybe then you go for a pit stop, or so this kind of additional extended view. This kind of Superman can be implemented for the autonomous vehicles.
That always reminds me, the situation when we have like a super dense city or area where you have like thousands of robots, not only cars, but let's imagine the future 15 years from now or 20 years from now. That is central London, for example. You have autonomous cars, you have walking robots, you have like flying drones, lots of autonomous things. Like leading machines in the area. So instead of making them each autonomous, you can have one central system that is managing everything so precisely there's literally no traffic, and no collisions. That's probably a very cool vision, and this is where you approach Han-Bin and Martin. This would be the winning technology, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
this is the way to go.
Yeah, overall, it is going to. First of all, it is going to be a lot safer, and second of all, it is going to increase the efficiency around the world. Starting from just a parking lot use case, but as you said, the entire city could be so efficiently managed by the central system that you might not even need a traffic light anymore, because the system is just all knowing at all time. But yeah, it's a very exciting angle that not many people have talked about. But again, we have a commercial contract with the OEMs as well as the airports and government entities around the world. We do work with several universities in the US trying to make this system more concrete. But yeah, it's a very, very exciting approach.
That's cool. Exciting technology. As you know, we have our R&D facility of Roborace in Nevada, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, not very far away from the Area 51 where the aliens are being tested. And, there is lots of, let's say, like proof of concepts from outer space. So we really like to collect amazing technologies and super talented people that are working on the future of communication, artificial intelligence, and robotics. So, it will be a big pleasure to have you on the show. It will be a big pleasure to have you on the race, to compete with the others. We are doing always like a very healthy competition, so you guys can compare yourself to the best in the world. That would be something really, really cool to watch. Yeah. So let's do it.
So yeah. I think these Korean players would like to see themselves compared against the world, and from Seoul, we'll love to see what we can bring up.
Okay, let's do it then. Thank you so much for joining the show. It was super, super interesting to talk. I like the idea of a different architecture of sensors and the vehicles connected to one system. This is very exciting. We need to see that in action in Roborace. One thing is to have it in a parking space in Munich. The other thing is to have it driving like 160 miles per hour Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So let's test your technology over there. Thank you everybody for watching this. I hope you enjoyed. We always try to bring really the best technologies out around the world to our show. Let's see this in action. Once again, thanks for your time, and have a great day. Have a great journey with Roborace.
All right, thanks.
Bye, thanks.
Bye everyone. Okay, guys, and next we have an interview with someone very, very cool, Watson Wu, who is the world's best car sound recordist. So he's recording the sound of cars. Roborace has a very, very special sound because it's an electric car. So he has teamed up with us, and we are making an amazing library of our Sounds of Deadbot 2. This is the fully electric autonomous race car. So let's check out what Watson is up to with Roborace and his latest musical adventure.
I am a sound designer sound effects recording artist, and my specialty is to capture and design extreme sounds, such as a lot of vehicles, weapons, things that are loud in general. We are at Roborace HQ here in Las Vegas, where I'm capturing fantastic sounding electric race cars. I'm going to put two small lavalier mics behind the driver. So we got the back end, getting the back end of electronics on the outside. And this time we're going to put these behind the driver on the inside to capture the contained sound in between. What's that red button? I think it's a missile lock. Favorite jobs are some like Baby Driver, where I got to record onboard sounds and sit inside the vehicles. And when we were drifting, just like the movie, I was in the entire time capturing all those extreme sounds. I've done a lot of different vehicles, but this is incredible. For the initial test, I'm gonna stand next to the car. He's gonna do a launch and come back, stop next to me, do another launch, and then I'm gonna stand behind the barrier for safety reason to get the faster pass-by sounds. I'm gonna zip tie and gaffer tape two microphones to the rear. I normally use these to capture exhaust sounds, but being that it's an electric race car, I'm just gonna put it where the electronic motors are to get the electronic whine up and down sounds. When I record sounds of cars, it's about what the car is doing, what the sounds are producing, versus the unwanted road noise, the unwanted wind noise. So my job is to conceal microphones in a way to capture the pure electric motor sounds. So what I often like to do is capture all the different perspectives. So the idea between two microphones is that this will stay stationary to get the panning left to right, right to left. So I could use this to follow the vehicle at the same time as this one is static. So that's why I like the multi-track recorders. I could do both at the same time. Sort of two birds with one stone.
Guys, welcome along to Roborace Season Beta Championship, the world's only all-electric, fully autonomous racing series.
Thanks a lot. Look what you did. Who's gonna clean this up? Huh? Who's gonna clean this up?
Hello guys, our time is nearly up. Here's where you can see our next show. Inside the Circuit is back on next Thursday, May 20th, and the Mission 5 will be back in Las Vegas Motor Speedway June 18th and June 19th for the rounds 11 and 12. Thank you everyone for watching. Please follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter. Roborace is back soon. Have a great nuclear week.